Oh, here we are, back again.
Mhm.
This is
Oh, yeah.
awesome. We have everybody in the house tonight. It's a nice round table. I know we're messing up football right now. Sorry, everybody, but I have nothing to root for because my team is trash.
You have
So,
something to root against.
yes, I do. The Dallas Cowboys
No,
and
the
the Eagles.
Eagles.
Yeah, I said the Eagles, but
Cowboys aren't in the playoffs. Like,
I know.
That was a long time.
That's all I got. Mr. Jake Chapman. Oh, dude. Hey, listen, saw your podcast today. It was awesome. You guys are fire. I will definitely be commenting all the sausages in that.
Yeah, Jake and Jan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go check it out.
Oh,
Yeah. They talk a lot of things, CrossFit and just working out in general. Like it's
Mhm.
literally just like, what does bodybuilding do? Like it's all this stuff. So
interesting.
it's very cool. Outside the box.
Yes, I will try to
Outside the
find it
box.
and bring it up so that we can see it.
But what were we just doing? That's the thing. What were we just doing? It was amazing.
What?
Chase was
Talking.
going to mansplain how to take the little
Yes.
reactions.
Yeah,
off.
yeah, no. No, getting you guys to 1,000 subscribers is what we're getting you.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. That was the other cool thing. Yeah.
It was,
Well, hold on real quick. This is for Jake and Jan Outside the Box. This is their new one that they just started. 15 subscribers already. Awesome.
Nice.
6 videos. They did their first live today. So Jan
Good
and
name.
Jake, the only feedback I have is that when you guys, so your logo has Jake's name on this side and Jan's name on this side, but Jan was on this side and Jake was on this side. So just make sure that you guys are on the side with your name. That's the only feedback I got.
I like that. I would have never thought of that. I mean, Bill and I
really
have our
bothered me.
sides now, but I think that was just more of like, I was like, oh, this is the 10th time we've done this. And then we didn't do it. And he's like, this feels weird. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because I felt like I was standing on my left foot or something.
Or it's like
Yes.
mirroring your camera. You're like, why do I look asymmetrical right now?
Yes, we have that too. She has to be on this side. I have to be on this side. And then when I make the clips for Instagram or I make the clips for YouTube, like the shorts, we have to be on certain sides. Like the main person's up at the top and then we have to be on certain sides. And if it makes it the other side, it just looks weird.
Yeah, you know what? But you're setting your brand though. That's okay. That's
Mhm.
kind of that's the look. That's the stance of it. That's good.
I like it.
I like it too.
it was a very good weekend for us, y'all. Thank you. We appreciate you. Souza, we appreciate you. Sevon, we appreciate you. It was really cool. Didn't expect what happened this weekend. So fire. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. I think the main thing that we were kind of trying to come together tonight to talk about or at least was teens in CrossFit. We talked to Shelby Neo. We've talked to Dallin. We've even talked to other commentators that have kind of given us some insights into teens in CrossFit.
Yeah.
And yeah,
This won't go well.
troll away, Susan, troll away.
Teens.
Sorry, teens. And what the difference is when it comes to men and women, and kind of why we're losing the female teens in CrossFit.
Okay.
Because we've seen a lot of that, but the dudes seem to make it. You know what I mean? Like they seem to go through the growing pains of going from a teen athlete to an individual athlete, and they seem to be okay. And so I kind of wanted your insight into this, because we don't get to talk to a lot of dudes.
Yeah. All right. Dude. I like this conversation. Yeah, I have opinions, so let's go. Like,
I wonder if it's a different, like, just going from a social media standpoint, guys tend to have a different strategy than girls when they try to, be popular? Like, there's got to be a different strategy, right?
Ooh, Bill sat up real fast.
Yeah.
So
you're hoping for 10 people to like your post instead of like 10,000 all at one shot.
I would argue you don't care how many people like your post.
No, well, everyone's gonna no. I disagree with that. I think that people do care. However, I think it's way different because the bar is set so low for a guy to have likes versus a girl. I mean, if you haven't, you look at any of the women that are on Instagram or whatever, they hands down by probably at least 10 times the amount of followers that any guy does.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like a guy will get happy if like, oh, dude, I got 15 likes on that. Sweet. Whereas like if a woman was to get that, they'd be like, oh my God, no one likes what I have on here.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking at anything.
I'm the worst.
I have to do something to get more likes on here. I think that you're right that a guy doesn't care nearly as much. It's a different care. It's a different care.
Yeah. I'll speak for myself. I don't care. I don't care.
Because like girls,
but I'm also 42. Like I'm not a 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's the thing. You have to think back into that era of you. Did you have any insecurities? Were you trying to like?
Oh, yeah, I did. But all my insecurities were in person and in social settings. It was like, and depending on the sport I was playing, it was like, am I good enough to even be on this team? Am I big enough to even make this team? Am I good enough to even like not get cut from the basketball team? Is my inability to swim a certain time affect the way girls see me in the, around the pool deck? Like all that stuff. That's like, I feel like that is just normal. And if you can live, but that was all like, this was all before social media, right? So all of these things were either in my control with direct action as it's taking place in front of me, or if somebody was talking about me, I wasn't going to hear about it anyways, unless they brought it up to my face or I heard it through the grapevine.
I think that it's hard for us to give a true perspective on what a lot of the younger athletes, men and women, have to deal with today, because we were brought up where you had to have tough skin, because guess what? People made fun of you for being too short, for being too fat, for having, shit. You know how many times I got into like arguments and fights about this big ass nose?
Dude,
yeah, I was a little guy. I didn't grow at all until college.
Mm-hmm.
I wrestled 132 pounds my senior year.
Dang.
I was little, man.
That's
100 pounds as a freshman.
You were 100 as a freshman? I was 125. High school.
Yeah. Junior high, 73 and 78 is what I wrestled. Give me a break. So, so you're little and you learn to like pick what's gonna affect you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there are certain people that like, yeah, well, you're short, and you'd be like, so,
right.
But then like now all of a sudden it is like, and you built a tolerance to what affects me or what doesn't affect me, or who affects me and who doesn't affect me. You were forced to not put something online and have 30,000 people look at it, but you were forced to go into a party and hope that like, wow, people are really looking at me. I hope that like, as I'm coming up to everyone's like shoulder, that they're not going to go, nope, I don't want to see this little boy around me. Like that kind of stuff. So like you're forced to get some tough skin out of that. And that's why it's really, I say that to my daughters all the time. Like you can't care what people think. And I realize that me saying that is almost, and I don't want to say that it's wrong, because it's not wrong. It is right. But I'm coming from a very different perspective. Like I was given a different foundation than what they are coming up with, even if you're really watching what they're, what are they looking at? What are they watching? Yeah. What are they trying to attend to? I literally just had a conversation with my daughter this weekend, because I have her this weekend. And my little girl is so damn cute. Oh my God, dude. Like, I'm screwed. I'm like, she is so damn beautiful. But the problem is that she has gotten into like the whole skincare thing and kind of dabbles. She dances. So like you're on stage, you wear makeup, and there's like makeup stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that kind of jumps you into that scene right away. Yeah. And I know like with her and her mom, it's probably something fun that they get to do, whatever. But like, I don't like, cool, play with it, but I don't want that to be your thing.
Right.
Like go and live. If you want to do your thing with your friends, cool.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be that like you're taking 3 hours to decide what you're going to wear, what you're going to look like, so that you can go out and go to your friend's house just to hang out. Or I don't know, to go to the park or something. Like, can you just put your lip gloss on and then go run and get dirty?
Bill, is she competitive? Is she in competitive dance?
Well, just got into like ballet and stuff like that. So she's getting into that, and she's very
safety.
She's getting into it.
Yes. So
how old is Joe?
9.
She's 9.
Yeah, you believe that,
bro?
Shit? I know,
Dang,
dude, and it's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Speaking from coming from the dance world, the sooner that you get into it. So it's always fun for me to hear stories that you guys go through, because I never went through this whole, like, what do you guys call it? Heckling or whatever. Like, I never experienced that. I didn't, I played soccer for a little bit, and I was like 7th and 8th grade. I played on the varsity team. I was a goalie for a little bit. And then I really kind of got out of sports because I had to pick. You can't be in 6 places at once.
Right.
And I was a competitive dancer. But for me, competitive dance absolutely gave me body issues. 100% gives you body issues, because they do. They go from you're this sweet little innocent thing to all of a sudden you're competing, and the outfits they put you in and the music that they have you dance to and the moves that they do. And then you're in, like 8, 9, 10 years old, you're in a full face of makeup. And then being so young, there is a very hard distinction between what is performance and what is reality. And when you see yourself in almost performance makeup, for some girls, it's a confidence boost. So then they feel like they have to be like that all the time. So, and I think now even more so with social media, there is this, I think, pressure that girls younger and younger need to be dancing in sports bras, in booty shorts. And there is no leotards and tights anymore. Like, everything is shorts and no tights. And I experienced that later on. I mean, I started competing when I was like 13, but the minute I started competing, I'm in 2 pieces, I'm in no tights, you have to be full, you know what I mean? So the dance world very much, and it's cool to hear that you're starting to have those conversations with her, because she will have that difficulty separating the two. And it's normal that girls go through that whole body issue thing, because it is so young.
I can, and she's not even on social media yet. I mean, thank goodness. I don't even want that to be the case. You know what I mean? But it's just who you see, videos that you see, whether you're watching, like just stuff that's on like the tablet, or she's around the other girls. And most of the girls that are at that studio, I mean, I would say are, high school, late high school age girls. And so you see a lot of that, and it's always cool to hang with the cool kids and the older kids and that kind of thing. And obviously you're going to emulate. I mean, they're the good ones. So you want to do and look and act and say and whatever as they do, which is fine. And I understand it. I'm not trying to get in the way of what that normal routine would look like, but I feel, and I mean, she probably, in the dynamics of her parents, which is pretty sad, is that she'll get one version from me and one version from her mom. You know what I mean? Yeah. So her mom danced her entire life. So like it to her, it's like, I just don't think a lot of it is a big deal. Fine. I'm not trying to get in the way of that. However, I want some little nugget of something to roll around in her head that says, your makeup doesn't matter. I don't, who cares if your hair isn't perfect, because no one's going to like you more or less. And if they really do, then you know what? F that person. Cause screw them.
Yeah.
Cause I don't want them around you, and you shouldn't want them around you. It's like, if they like you for your hairdo, like, out. But it's tough. And Chase, and you're at the young age. What I like with you is that you have, she's doing soccer and dance. And so I'm all about a girly girl, but like one that can has no problem going out and roughing and toughing and getting dirty and go camping, and
she's gonna look good in cleats and a dress.
Totally.
And we're gonna start jiu-jitsu soon.
Right.
So my question, I guess, would be, like, between the teenagers in the CrossFit division, boys will, like, Man, this feedback, I can't. I'm sorry, guys. I tried to fix it. I don't know what's happening over here.
Oh. I don't hear it.
Yeah, I don't hear it either.
Okay, maybe it's just us. Sorry. But like I was saying before, the growth of a teenager boy it takes way longer, right, for them to get. Would you like do the girls know do they feel the fact that they're getting these followers because of the Instagram that they're putting up, because they're in CrossFit, because they're just in sports bras and in like shorts out there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
do they know? I'm not sure. Should they know? Unfortunately, that should be a lesson that is given to them, is that this number at the top of your Instagram thing isn't a real number full of real people who are here for your best interests in mind.
yeah.
And that's just the fact. And take out teenage girl CrossFitters and just put like girls in general. Right. And that's just social media. It's just full of scummy, dirty people that are there for everyone's else worst interests. Right? And unfortunately, that's the world it is. Like, I'm more nervous about my daughter getting on social media than I am dating anybody. I don't care about that. I'm not worried about Blake.
So we talked to Dallin, and Dallin was very much like, he doesn't get any weird DMs, but he knows like his friends who are girls in the space. He's like, you can't even imagine some of the stuff that they get in the DMs.
Right.
And so I'm kind of not surprised that girls that have competed in CrossFit and have humongous Instagrams and humongous followings and like sponsors, whatever, that when they post all the time and that they're just like, I can't do this anymore by the time that they're 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
You know what's weird is when you look at some of the it's very easy for a female to instantly get a ton of likes. You just start minimizing the amount of clothes you got to put on. I mean, that's all you got to do. It's not hard to do. I don't think that a lot of the young girls are doing that. At least I don't think they're doing it intentionally.
No,
I don't think their parents are kind of watching them, all that kind of stuff, and they build a name as a competitor. They're getting people that are watching them as a competitor, and they're automatically, just because they're female, and it's sick, but regardless of the age, they're going to get a lot more eyes on them than guys will. So they start seeing themselves as the competitor, and they start looking at, if they are on social media, they're looking at the numbers to see what kind of competitor they are. Now, granted, if you're winning, okay, you're getting it that way. But as you get better and you see people looking at them and thinking, wow, you're doing so great. You're doing so great. You're doing so great. Cool. Maybe they get into the scene. And once they get into the scene where you're around the 24-year-olds, the 23-year-olds, you again, just like I said about with my daughter, you start playing the game that they're playing. You're going to look the way that they're going to look. You're going to wear what they're going to wear. You're going to start posting the way that they're posting. And all of a sudden now, those are women that are used to the game. Not these young girls. They aren't used to the game yet. They haven't gone out to bars and figured out how they can get guys to buy them drinks and know just how far to keep everyone at arm's length to kind of get what you want, but not get what you want kind of thing. I mean, like, there's a game, and there is a level of a game to it. But the problem is like, you don't have the upper hand. So when you open up the floodgates for those, for the women as they get older, especially like the athletes that Dallin was talking about, they don't want to shut down their DMs because there are opportunities for sponsorships and other things that are in there. Yeah, luckily, a lot of these athletes are getting agents so they can handle some of that stuff. But that wasn't always a thing, and it's still relatively new for a lot of that kind of stuff. But that avenue is open, but everything comes in that avenue. I mean, everything. So a young girl is going to get the same thing, and they aren't used to handling that stuff. And I think that when the number changes from, look at all these people that think that I'm a great athlete, I'm a great 14-year-old athlete. Look at me doing all these stuff. Oh, that's great. You're an inspiration. That's great. That's great. That's great. If the numbers start to go down and they start to get more into competition, I think that they start looking at the roadmap of, I now need to post like this. I now need to look like this because I can't let those numbers go down. If those numbers go down, they're not liking me, they're not seeing me. And that swing of competition versus cuteness starts to switch, where it's like, okay, I had my likes from competing, because it's just cool to see, like, some 14-year-old girl just kicking ass. I mean, we have, I have kids in my gym that, like, I have this one girl, she's 12 years old and she moves fantastic. She's like a runner and all this kind of stuff. But like watching her lift, of the three, she's the best of her three sisters. She's the youngest one. And it's cool to watch that. It's cool to watch her move. But when all of a sudden that just uniqueness of that wears off, it's like, well, how do you keep the likes? And I think it's almost a subconscious trap that they get stuck in.
So would you guys agree at all that, like, the guys actually have to, like, they have to have an accomplishment to do something, right? Like, we follow Dallin Pepper, we follow James Sprague, we follow Justin Medeiros, we follow Matt Frazier, all those guys, because they did something really cool. We loved it.
Yeah.
And we just want to see what they're going to do. But that's not necessarily why the women have most of their followers.
I think you can easily, and I'm sure Hiller's done something like this, is like, just take the top 20, like 20 most successful male let's just keep it to CrossFit, male CrossFit athletes, for their accolades on the competition floor, and then look at their Instagram followers and rank them. And then take the top 20 most followed Instagram CrossFit girls in the space. And I would argue that those accomplishments are not equated as from popularity versus that. And that's unfortunate. And I think a big part of this for the girls, the younger girls, is that because of their success so early, right? Like, you've got like the Emma Lawsons and Mal O'Briens and Haley Adams and McCarrys that are going to the CrossFit Games as like 16 to 17 to 18-year-old girls. And the dudes don't get there until their 20s.
Right.
And so you're just not emotionally ready and mentally ready to handle that type of attention. Right. And I think for girls on the majority is that is not the best attention to have. I mean, to what Dallin is talking about, like, they just get horrific attention that come with good attention, where guys don't care what attention they get. They're not really seeking that. They're too different, and they're coming in at 5-6 years older when they start hitting that limelight. And that's the thing, is like, yes, I mean, how many teen guys have we seen make the jump to the games? Dallin,
after a couple years.
After a couple years, right? But it took them 3 to 4 years to make that jump, and there's very, very few of them that have been able to. And on the girls' side, or the women's side, it is way more prevalent. They're like skipping their 16th to 17th year age-wise at the games to go compete individually. Like, that just doesn't happen the same way, right? And so that's just two totally different. Not only just two totally, like, between men and women in general, right? It's just like people and how they operate and how they're affected by people around them. Now you've got a 5-6 year age gap going into the spotlight. It's just
that maturity difference too. I mean, like, women, they mature so much younger than men do. And for a man to catch up maturity wise to those guys that are competing at the CrossFit Games, like, you're just not going to be able to do that. But the women are going to be a lot closer to that.
We mean physical maturity.
Physical maturity.
Right?
Mental maturity.
A lot of people will see. So when my son was very young, and this is like a big, I would say, fault on me as a father. When my son was very young, he was very articulate. So he could talk to you, like when he was like 2, he could have like conversations with you. And when a child is doing that, you're like, oh, okay, we're having a conversation. So you must be comprehending what I'm telling you. And he's like, no, we're just like, as soon as like whatever comes in, like, it's not like sinking in. I was like, hey, listen, like, you got to put your stuff away, put your toys away, stop getting out of bed. And he's like, okay, Dad, I'm really sorry for doing all that. And we're like, oh shit. Like, I'm having a full conversation with my son. He has no idea what we're talking about. And so I'm treating my 2-year-old like he's 6. And then it's totally unfair. And that was a big thing I had to learn for the second one, right? And I see the same thing with younger athletes, male or female, doesn't matter. Younger athletes who are physically matured from a eyeball test and performance-based test when it comes to, let's just say, CrossFit. But that emotional maturity, like some would argue, my emotional maturity hasn't really caught up to my years of actual age, right? Let alone when I was 16 years old or 18, or like I was a total disaster until I was like 28. And that was somehow coincided when I met my wife. So like maybe she cleaned me up, but like the physical maturity, I think not only tricks those that are watching these athletes, but it tricks the athletes even more. Oh, I'm doing all these things. I'm being treated this way. I am an adult. I mean, how many times did you say that to like your parents where you're like 17, you're like,
Right.
you can't do this. I'm like, fuck you, dad. I'm a grown man. I'm like, I'm 17. I'm like $160 maybe. You're like 6'3", 255 and can like fold me up into a pencil anytime you want it. And I'm saying like, I'm talking back to you as if like I figured out the world. Right? These are the same people. They are no different than I was 30 years ago, thinking that they know everything and that they can handle.
Yeah, like my son is 4'9" at 7 years old.
Yes.
And people think that he is
he's 12.
older.
People think he's 12.
Right.
People have literally asked, like, is that your son? I'm like, yeah. Well, how old is he? And I'm like, he's 7.
So they
They're
treat
like, there's
him.
no fucking way. And I'm like, no, I know exactly how old he is.
Yeah.
Like, I know exactly how old he is, but they treat him older and they expect more from him. And that's also something that we've dealt with since he was very, very young, because he's a big boy. Well, I wanted to ask you guys, so do you think that in terms of professional sports, and we can talk strictly CrossFit or, you know, whatever, do you feel like there needs to be an age limit to give these younger athletes a chance? Like, do you feel like that athletes can't go from 14 to the adults? Like, do you feel like that they need to have a 15-year-old, a year and 15, have a year and 16? You know, somebody like Dallin, the way he explains it is that he tried to get to the games and he didn't make it, and he didn't make it, and he didn't make it. So then by the time he got there, numerically he's of said age, but also it's given him those extra years to mature, not only physically, but mentally. Do you feel like that there needs to be that, I guess, to protect these young girls, to give them that chance to really be successful when they get to the adult league?
I think every major sport has some type of prerequisite before you can play. Like the NFL, you have to have a certain number of college years or maybe even an age. NBA is a little bit different. I think they've changed the rules because you see guys like coming right out of high school, like Kobe, LeBron, right? And then go right to the NFL. But if you look at, say, Olympic sports, other than gymnastics, like they don't really have a minimum age. Like Michael Phelps was competing in the Olympics when he was 16. And then the world got put on his shoulders when he was 20.
Right.
And then he did a lot of drugs and
yeah, but then he did it all, right? When he was like 24, 28. But so yes and no. I feel like we get in too much of a position of trying to protect by coddling or not giving exposure to, when the opposite is actually really what is needed. And then like education from like the parental side, or if you're in the mode of not listening to your parents, is like having a good group around you of like, hey, listen, this is what it is. Right. I would argue that no, I don't think any teenager should be like trying to be a professional CrossFitter. I think that it is missing the point and what the CrossFit methodology started out as to begin with. Right? Like Bill, you said, what is your 14-year-old girl in your gym that moves beautifully? What is her actual sport? You said running?
She's a runner.
Track and field?
Yeah. She wrestles too. Her and her sister wrestle too.
Great. Right. That's what CrossFit's supposed to be when you're young.
Right.
Right. CrossFit should never be your main thing unless you're going to decide to go onto this other side of the universe, which is the CrossFit sport, which is just as niche as any other sport in the world, the things that you have to do to be in that world, is not related to CrossFit. You utilize it to its fullest, right? But I don't think kids should be growing up when they're 8 years old looking as like that's the dream.
I had that question too. I was going to say, do you think it's detrimental?
I think it's 100% detrimental.
Yeah, to train
So,
for
Train
CrossFit.
for a sport, to
Train-
train for the CrossFit Games as a child,
Yeah.
I think would make Greg Glassman throw up instantly hearing that.
The hard part is that is the mentality for all youth sports. I mean, I work with baseball kids right now, and there are kids that I have that are 8 years old, and their parents are all in for this kid getting a scholarship when they get to college, and they're going to be in the MLB. And I'm like, your kid is 8.
Yes.
He can barely keep water in his mouth. Like, what are you talking about right now? You know, I
That's
mean,
a good point, Bill, because I don't want to just pick on the CrossFit Games. Like every youth sport is an absolute disaster of trying to do select everything. Like my kid is 6, and I already have parents on our soccer team through the YMCA trying to decide if they're going to do this like more select league next summer. I'm like, they're 6.
We have that.
But let me
push
push back.
Yeah.
Let me push back a little bit, because the other sports,
push back a lot. Come on, don't be afraid.
like football. I mean, I'm a little afraid. You guys are
never.
You have football, right? Like youth football. Every parent wants their kid to go to the NFL, basketball, AAU, all that stuff, whatever. They use other training methodologies to train for the sport that they're doing. There's no other training methodology to train for CrossFit.
CrossFit should not be a sport for children.
So, right. So if you have a kid and they want to train to be a professional CrossFitter, is that damaging? Does that take away from your kid's athletic ability?
Yes.
Because there's nothing athletic about CrossFit.
The what you're trying to do, like the second you take CrossFit as where you're trying to be a professional CrossFitter, you're not doing CrossFit anymore. You're training to race and to go faster and lift heavier and lift faster. Like that's the race. Yes, there's all of the method, all of the different things you need to throw in there, and the thrusters and the burpees and the rings, and I get it. But the intention of what you are doing at that point is not to get better so that you can do all of these other sports, and not to get better. You are now not trying to take that as a fitness program. You are trying to race, and that's it. That's the difference between CrossFit, the methodology, and CrossFit, the sport of CrossFit. CrossFit, the sport, has nothing to do with you being more fit and living a longer life and being able to do all these great things and helping your career and helping your. It's so, can you go faster than anyone else on thrusters and burpees? That's what it is. The other stuff is, can I do all the other things that I need to do in sport, career, in life? That's what CrossFit was designed for. And that's what it's set up to do. Now, as far as I honestly, I think the easiest way to do the things that you were talking about, Garrett, was I don't think they need to have a CrossFit Games for the youth. And what you do with that is, so you have a handful of kids that they went to Wadapalooza and they did some teen events, or they did, some other teen events wherever. Okay, well, if you want to get to the CrossFit Games, that means you got to line up in the open with everyone else. And maybe there'll be a handful of you guys that squeak through. Okay. But it isn't all of a sudden where it's I am training for the 14 to 15-year-old CrossFit Games. Right. No, you should not be doing that. And so you remove that. And this is not something, I'm not saying that I want to remove opportunities for the kids, because that will all be out there. But the second you have the world championship out there, you are now changing the intent of what you're trying to do. And I think that if they want to be a competitive CrossFitter, you got the competitive CrossFitters are in the open division. They're not in any other division. I'm in the master division. There are no professional CrossFitters in any divisional area. No. Period. So that's it.
Just because it's all you do doesn't mean you're a professional.
No, you like it a lot.
There's a Ben Bergeron.
I love doing this. I'm not a professional YouTuber. Like, I just like doing this.
Right? Ben Bergeron said this when he was, hey. What's up?
He's like, why are you so loud, Dad?
You're showing a picture of me?
I will say she has immaculate timing. Anytime that he
Every
goes
time.
like a point,
Like
she's
right
like,
about
"Hey,
to
Dad,
make a point.
hold on a second."
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's how they are.
Yeah.
Our kid will come in at the hour mark. Watch.
Hour and a half.
Right.
Usually an
So-
hour and a half, and then here comes G.
Darn it.
Like, are you done yet? Yeah.
Okay, Ben Bergeron.
Yeah, go ahead.
When he was starting Comp Train and creating this competition gym alongside of CrossFit New England, is he had this rule that if you were a teenager and you were going to go the competitive route, you had to be playing a sport, or he would not allow you to do it, which I respected greatly.
Yeah.
And, Garrett, to your point is like, oh, do they need sports specific training? Is like, no, they need sports specific skill work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I still think CrossFit by itself at its classic of it's just a strength and conditioning program. It's just a bit more focused on, intensity and getting something back from that and constantly varied functional fitness till you're good at everything physically. Is that, that's not going to help you run routes, which is why you do that specific outside of your strength and conditioning program, which every sport pro or every collegiate program they have a strength and conditioning program, and then they have sports specific practices. That's not where CrossFit lies, right? This could be a base level program for anything. And then you go to the basketball court and then you have your sports specific practice, right? That's what CrossFit should be supporting. You're just baseline strength and conditioning. Now you can modify that to fit maybe the things that you need in that specific sport, right? Football needs more explosivity from a powered position because most of their movements derive from that. So maybe, change how you lift sometimes into that. But I think the sport of CrossFit, to be successful in that, like you have to do everything opposite of what CrossFit is supposed to be. You have to train for 6 to 8 hours a day. You have to dump volume on your body to sustain the competitive volume in a certain weekend. You have to be intense beyond your physical and psychological tolerances, because that's what it's going to take to win the CrossFit Games or to get to the CrossFit. Like, think of everything you need to be able to do in a training session to be good at the sport of CrossFit. Every bullet point there that you need to do is the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do if you're just doing CrossFit for health and fitness. Mm-hmm. They're two totally different worlds. 100%. But Rich Froning just talked about this on his podcast, is that I love the CrossFit Games. I love it. I love watching it. It's entertaining. It was fun to chase that dream for a while. I know Bill did the same thing. It was awesome. I never looked better, and I was never more like absolutely physically destroyed during that process. Mm-hmm. But I still recognize it's like, this isn't the methodology, right? And I would talk to my classes like that when I'm coaching them, like, oh, well, we see this extra work you're doing. I was like, yes, because what I am chasing over here is not anything you guys should be doing at a single time. It's like, what is your goal? It's like, well, I just want to get, like a little bit fitter, lose some weight, get a little bit stronger. I'd like play with my kids longer, be able to pick them up. Like, yeah, you don't need to do a 3-hour training session with squat, clean, snatches, back squats, and then do an EMOM of ring muscle ups, wall walks, and handstand walks. Like, you don't need to do that. It's just two totally different worlds, but I think both have a symbiotic relationship of support.
Also, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this was back when I first started watching all the behind the scenes too. Isn't it not a good diet either when you're competing? Aren't they?
No, because what do you hear most of those athletes doing? I need to get my carbs in.
More carbs.
I need to get the carbs. I need 400 grams of carbs in one day because I'm training for 6 hours of whatever. Mm-hmm. And one of the greatest lines, and Greg Glassman had a lot of them, but one of the greatest lines I ever heard him say about the CrossFit athletes when they're training and their nutrition and everything, he's like, he's all disheveled and he goes, great. You'll be the fittest diabetic on the planet.
I mean, what
because
do you see these guys eat?
It's just
the
fuel.
Huge bags of Sour Patch Kids. And
oh God, the weightlifters in my gym, they're like, oh, I need this. I'm like, you don't even raise your heart rate. You can't use this as an excuse.
I know.
So, and I'll say this, I'll defend Now I'm defending. I'm not going to isolate the CrossFit Games athletes as far as like some do it right and do it well, but like when I swam, I've told the story on our podcast. When I swam, I would eat 8,000 to 10,000 calories a day in college, and I probably eat closer to like 1,200 to 1,500 a day now. And those were all the majority carbs. Like
Totally.
It was pasta, burgers, pizza, cookies, gallon of milk easily a day. And in doing that, I had 4% body fat. I was 170 pounds. And I had a resting heart rate of like 32.
Oh my God, you guys suck.
And then
Well, you have to look at what that is, though.
But I'm
You have to
also
look at what that is, though.
Yeah. And so I'm also training 3 to 4 hours a day in a pool, swimming somewhere between 10 to 14,000 meters a day, 5 days a week, in the weight room 3 days a week, outside of the weight room another 3 days a week. I was swimming around them. If you equate it to running distance, a marathon 4 times a week is the distance of swimming I would accrue in a day.
That sounds
And then I stopped swimming and did not change my diet. And I gained 30 pounds.
As
in
with
6
most
weeks.
swimmers don't do that either. They always forget.
30 pounds in 6 weeks. And it wasn't muscle.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm not saying I was if you just looked at my numbers, yeah, maybe it was great. It's like, 4% body fat, which someone would argue is borderline unhealthy. Resting heart rate. It's like, those all look great. And I'm like, yeah, but there's probably a better way to do that. There's a necessary evil in certain things when you are playing a sport or trying to be the top 0.1% in your field, something professional. Would anybody argue that training to be in the NFL is the healthiest thing you could possibly do for your body?
Fair.
Absolutely not. Right? Yeah. Like the average life or career of an NFL player, I think, is 2 to 3 years. The average lifespan of an NFL player 10 years ago, I don't know what it is now, was 54.
Well, with that
lifespan.
Yeah, I get it.
That's
54.
crazy.
What I just kind of wanted to check in with you is like, if you have a kid that is at that age that is doing that much working out and eating in a way that probably isn't how they're going to eat long term.
Yeah.
With their hormones still going all over the place and they're not.
You're getting to it. Get to it. Okay, so what do you have to do, right? If you want to be a CrossFit Games athlete when you're 15, think of all the hours you're going to have to train to do so.
And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say this for all the women out there. At 15, our period hasn't regulated yet. We're not in homeostasis at all yet.
No, our bodies grow. Our bodies grow. So I was this height at 13, 14.
I was this height at 12.
But our
you guys must have been just gargantuan.
Oh my God.
I would have come up to your knees at that age.
When you said you were 132 pounds, I was 132 pounds in 8th grade because I remember being on the tug of war team and we had to get weighed in. I was 132 pounds in 8th grade.
Well, this might be guys left. I was the second tallest girl in my class, and I was taller than 80% of the guys.
Totally.
At 14.
So here's the perfect storm that you're explaining, Garrett. If you want to be a games athlete, right, the hours you need to put in to be successful are quantifiable, right? A lot. Okay, so you do that at a young age. All right, so if you do that at a young age, most of the time you're doing that in a CrossFit gym. And if you're not doing that, then you're in a garage. And I would argue that's worse than being in a CrossFit gym at a young age. How many other kids your age in your demographic are also doing that in that CrossFit gym? Probably zero. Okay, so now not only have you isolated yourself from your peers, you are now around people that you can't relate to, but you pretend to. You are eating at a level that is not good for homeostasis physically and mentally in your body. And you just mentioned your hormones are all over the place. And now you're on social media, you're in the limelight, you're chasing a sport, you're doing all, like, these are all a perfect storm for exactly what we're talking about. It's like, well, what about professional gymnasts? It's like, they're all with a bunch of 14-year-old girls chasing the dream together, at the very least. If they're trying to be the best in their sport, they're not doing it with a bunch of 25-year-olds in the gym. They're with their peers and going through it together.
And look what happened too. Now that we're going through the perfect storm thing. I want to know what you guys think. All of these kids that were kind of coming up out of the teens and trying to make the individuals, they all went to training camps.
They all went homes.
Totally. Yeah, they all went. They all left.
They left their families, they left their friends, and they went to training camps. And I'm not faulting anybody here. I'm just stating the fact.
No.
They left their families, they left their friends, and they went to a gym that they'd never been to, in a state they've never been to, surrounded by people they don't know, and everybody is singularly focused on making the CrossFit Games, not having relationships, not making friends, not living their lives. That's what it is. And you're going to shove a 16-year-old in that environment, let alone a 16-year-old girl in that environment, and you expect them to thrive emotionally with their surroundings
at the time when they need to have the most support possible. You go to a situation where they have the least amount possible, because every single other athlete that's out there are all chasing the exact same dream. So yeah, everyone's cool. You have the teams and everyone's working out together, but all of those athletes are looking out for themselves. They're not looking out for you. I mean, even I think it's interesting. I saw someone in the comments that even had the thing about that mentorship program.
Yeah, that was
like, I get the idea of that, but it's the same exact thing that Chase is talking about. Like, cool, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what's going on, even though we're gonna be on the floor here, and I hope that I kick your ass, because I don't want some little kid coming up and beating me. But like, really, like the mentorship program, that to me is inviting more kids to come into a situation that is just like what Chase was describing. All of those variables where that kid should be nurtured and built up, and foundations are set, whether it is emotional, whether that is nutritional, whether that is physical, whether that is mental, all of those things where that's your building block. And you're now going to step in with a bunch of athletes. I mean, could you imagine what it would be like for any badass 16-year-old football player to get on a college field with those guys, or even worse, an NFL field? They would murder that kid. And it's the same situation, even though they're not like contact sport setup, but the situation is the same. The physical and mental line that these athletes have to do, whether they are able to be there physically or not. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze on those. And I was a kid. I mean, me and Chase have talked about this all the time. Like, it doesn't. Who can click the pen the fastest in the most time? Okay, it's a competition. Fine, line it up. Like we'll race. I'll race.
Yep.
But if the easiest way to protect everyone from that is you take the thing away where people are going to be chasing. If there is no teen games, then none of those athletes are going to be looking to be the teen champ and trying to do whatever. They're going to have to compete against the opens and the open division, and majority of them are not going to be able to do that. There'll be a few, but the majority of them won't. And the thing is that I don't think that helps them, because we got these. Of the girls that have made it through, how many have made it through? No. It seems to me that all of them have taken a break now.
Everybody's needed a minute.
Yeah.
Every single one. And not that that's bad. I mean,
no,
cool.
Right.
But I don't think that they would need that break if they got into it if they really started to hit the scene when they were, 19, 20, and it's still a nobody. Well, they weren't the CrossFit Games champ. They haven't been a champ for 4 years in a row. They haven't been to this and to that and the other thing. And here's the next. You don't know. No one knows who the next anybody is. All they know is that there was some girl at Wadapalooza, or there was some girl at the Titan Games, or something.
Do you remember that mom when we were at Wadapalooza and it was like the 12-year-old division, like screaming at her kid?
No,
not coaching, just like I'll take a little bit lighter stance on Bill as far as like getting rid of the, so like the pit teen group, I think they are aware of this entire thing and they're trying their best to come at that from a supportive position. I wouldn't want to take, say, maybe like competitive outlets out of that age group, but something less official. Right. Like to me, like the fact that there is, and this is the thing, like there's travel flag football for first grade boys. I think that's insane. I think that is insane. Like it's nuts. And if you want to lessen some of the overstimulation, is like maybe you don't broadcast these things like as a step. It's like, hey, if you're really in it for the novice, like, then why are you worried if you're going to be on TV or not? And by TV, I mean YouTube. Like, there's ways to do it, but like, I can't sit here and be like, hey, this is what you should do, but like to recognize where a lot of these pitfalls are for these younger kids that want to be competitive CrossFitters. It just it's clear as day that is a problem.
I just say it's really interesting. I mean, dude, I wrestled from 5 years old all the way through college, everything. And I wrestled in my age groups as a kid. I wrestled when I was in junior high. I wrestled in high school. And you always had the dream of going to the next big thing. But the thing is that it just seems like because there aren't that many kids that are competing. If you look at like the whole scope, it's like, okay, everyone does the open, fine. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you're at the games as a team.
Right.
Like there really isn't that many ways. When I was a kid wrestling, it was like, man, I got to get through all these other steps before I get to the big competition. Whereas here, you don't really have that. So, there were always a couple good kids that could be a high school kid and come in and, kick ass on the NCAA champ of that last year or whatever. That happens occasionally, not always, but it will happen. But I agree with you as far as not taking the competitive environment out.
Yeah, because we all have it.
Stop saying it's the CrossFit Games. Let the Pit Town throw their thing. Have a big event. Cool.
Yeah.
But don't say you're the world's fittest 14-year-old. Don't make it be that thing, because the only next thing is the CrossFit Games. And that is the only step. Like I'm going to be a 17-year-old and boom, I'm in, because look at all that. Like that seems to be the track. And because of that track, it's a natural progression of it's no different than the baseball kids or the traveling, flag football. We do this because so-and-so did this when he was in 3rd grade, and look where he is now. That whole thing.
I want to go back a little bit what you guys were saying. The team sport, where Chase was saying that when you come in and you're in a training camp or whatever, and you want to be friends, but you can't really be friends because you're competitors. So if you come into a team and you're a really good player on a basketball team, all of your teammates are rooting for you.
Yes.
Because their team, you want your own team to do well. You can't do that in teens, like for CrossFit, because you're competing against each other. So it's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be rah kumbaya with you and support you and whatever, but I fucking want to beat you.
That was the hardest thing my brother, when he got into CrossFit, because we both wrestled our entire life. And the very first CrossFit event he ever did was one that we did here at my gym. And he used to get pissed at me. He's like, "Why the hell are you talking to these guys? You're gonna be lining up next to them, man. You need to take them out." And then after the first competition, when he realized that it's like, okay, I'm lifting next to you. So I mean, unless I throw my weight at you, I mean, like either you're going to lift faster than I am, or I'm going to lift faster.
I can't manipulate what you do psychologically.
So like, he's like, "Oh, I get it. It really doesn't do anything." But that still doesn't mean that like we're all going for the same thing. Like when you're on a wrestling team, you got 10 different weight classes. So we're all on the same team, and I want to kick your ass when I'm wrestling, but like I'm going for 154, you're going for the 160, whatever. You're going for the 178. Chase is going for the 100-yard breaststroke, and this guy over here is going for the backstroke, and those guys over there are doing the IM. Like you're on the same team, but there's only one thing.
Right.
You're all in the same thing.
Right. Our team is going to score more than your team based off our own individual performances. That's a great point on the team side. A little bit more detail on the point that I was making. I didn't even really think about that. It's a very good point about they're not really on the same team. And like, oh, we're in the same camp. We're all like, yeah, but when it comes to that last spot between you and them, guess who wants it?
Yeah.
More important. But I'm looking at it in a level of until you graduate college, for the most part, right? You're within 3, at most 4 years difference in age with the people around you all doing the same thing, right? From elementary school to college, if you are playing a sport. If you leave and go to a camp, like you've got people that are like 8, 10, 15, that like those age gaps and life gaps, like even if there's a big life, let's say it's 5 years in college, like we're all here in school on the team, doing the same thing, going to the same parties. Like we're all like in the same stage of life. Right. And we're on the same team, which is a bonus. And like, until you get to professional sports, you don't have those massive age gaps and life gaps. But even then you're 18, 19, 20 years old getting into this, not 15, 16 getting into this. And then you are in a team setting. If you're lucky. Now that's different from saying,
yeah, like I'm married with a kid. I don't want to talk to a teenager. Like I don't want to have.
Oh, well, we took them all to dinner and they came over to our house.
No.
I went over to my coach's house for Thanksgiving every year, or like with the team, and like he's got 3 kids of his own and he's married and they've got dogs. Like I have no connection with this. I might pretend, right? Of course I pretended. I want to be cool with the upperclassmen. And I wanted to be cool with my coaches, and I just wanted to be part of the group and one of the guys, but there's still no like shared life experience.
Well, and that's what I wanted to kind of bring up too with these camps. So if you take an athlete that's going into a camp and everybody's in the gym, all of those people that are there year round, that's their home, they have their own people to go home to.
Right.
Like they have a spouse, they have family, they have siblings, they get to go home. And not saying that the single athlete can't go to the house like you're saying, but it's kind of like you're at the gym with your coach and then you're going to your coach's house and there's no person that's just there for you. Like we go to the gym, I come home, I have my wife. Like these kids are going into these places where all of these people have lives. They don't have their person where they can go home to. The only person, like their people are on FaceTime, they're on a phone call, and it's not the same. And you're spending literally all of your time competing for CrossFit. There is no, even when you go to dinner, like it's still business.
Right.
Totally.
There's no fun. There's no support. One of the coolest things that Dallin shared was that like him and his wife have an understanding when it's time to compete, he's at work, he's going to compete. And then he gets to go home to her. Like he gets to go home to his wife, not his coach, not his nutritionist, not his sponsor, nothing. He gets to go home to his wife. And so I always think about that when it comes to these especially young kids that are going to these camps. And that's why you hear that they either stop, take a break, or go back home, move somewhere else, is because they want that sense of, I need something just for me.
Well, and to bring it full circle from that is that if they don't have roommates or they go by themselves, where do they go when they're home alone? Right back to social media.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And so if they don't have a relationship or connections with the people that are around them in real life, which we would always have, right? Like I am so thankful I did not have to grow up in an age of social media. Like it is the one thing that I like count my blessings on.
Beepers, baby. We had beepers.
I didn't even have a beeper, right? Like I had a whistle.
Bill, did you have a beeper?
I had a whistle from my father. I could hear a half a mile away from the house. It was insane, right? But now you come back to your phone and your social media, and now the relationships you have consistently on a daily basis are people that you don't even know or barely see, and now you judge your worth in your world around you based off the number of followers you have, the number of views you get on a reel, the number of likes and comments, and then you go to your DMs, which is just the pit of hell from these just this horrific, like, even if there could be 100 amazing comments and just one awful thing, and that's the one that's going to stick with you. That's just human nature in general, let alone me being a 16-year-old girl by myself away from my family in an environment I'm not really fully adjusted to yet. I mean, of course they're having to take breaks. I mean, think about everything we just said. You spend your whole day doing this, and then you get to come home to nothing but this. Those are the two worlds you operate. Like, those are the two things that have the most direct impact on you right now, because maybe you haven't developed anything outside of that.
Would you say that the teen boys have and I don't know if healthy is the best word to use, but almost a healthier version of competition to the older guys that are in the sport? Meaning, as a teen, you're trying to get fit so that you can stand next to those athletes and you can compete side by side with those athletes, whether it's to win or whatever. Whereas girls, the expectation usually is, I want to look like that.
We're petty. We don't help younger girls because they're a version of us that we don't like. We're petty. Men aren't petty like that.
I mean, you hear the girls say that, like, "Oh, I'm so excited to compete on the same floor as Annie. I watched her growing up all the way." So I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know the girl translation to what that is.
Yeah.
Like, I've always wanted my chest and shoulders to look like Rich Froning's.
Right.
I just, who doesn't? But yeah, I think that's most guys in general, is that we are horrible to each other. Yet, I mean,
I've heard that's
but no one takes offense to it because we just know that we're just fucking around.
This is not real. Like, look in the relationship. Let's take the teen group of, like, the trio of Dallin, Tudor, and James. In that, like, name a 3 trio of teenage girls that has the same thing right now.
Well, did you guys just see? And I'm gonna say this, like, they don't even do Tudor. Do the podcast that Justin Hopper and Dallin just did.
Yeah.
Right. Dallin or Medeiros and Hopper literally just
made up.
Like, Medeiros had this whole, like, made up "I hate you" thing in his head. And Hopper's just like, ha ha ha, like Hopper's always. And then they sat down on a podcast and they're just like, "No, I love you. I love you too. No, we're friends. No, we're rooming together in," like, it was just, they just made up. Women don't do that shit.
You guys are just too damn deep. That's the problem. You guys are just too damn deep.
We're mad. Like, it's
we take everything personal.
Well, yeah, it's like,
and we hold on to it.
Let me just slap you once, or you slap me once, be like, all right, cool.
And then people get mad when we talk to a dude. They're like, "Dude, stop acting like a chick." And then the chicks get mad at us. They're like, "How dare you?" I'm like, "You fucking do it. What do you? That's what Stop being such a girl about this." Yeah, like, we're not degrading anybody. It's just like, that's just
we're fucking petty. I want to go back to this, but now that you got me on this subject, I want to ask you guys this. Are you different when you go on a podcast with a woman than you are when you go on with a dude?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think Bill, I didn't think you were. I don't know about Chase. I've never kind of seen you go on.
I don't know.
Because I exclusively don't go on female hosted. My misogyny will not allow such a thing.
I literally just, on our very last podcast that we had Boz on, I got lit up in the comments because I was freezing up here in my gym. I had like 2 sweatshirts on. I had my gloves. And I'm like, man, I'm a total vagina when it comes to this stuff. And this lady lit me up because I said, "How dare you?"
No, she lit me up.
Oh, yeah. Said it was
oh, my
Chase,
God.
me. Said how vaginas are strong. I can't believe it. You're degrading women and degrading vaginas. I'm like, I like both. I don't know what. I wasn't meaning it like that way. I just meant like,
It's like, lady, I promise you, I love vaginas more than dicks. All right? They're my favorite.
It was really funny. So no, I'm not any different.
No, I enjoy that because sometimes I think that they're like, I don't want to be in any dude's group chat ever in life.
Ever.
No.
I don't want to do that, but
I don't even want to be in there half the time.
but
well,
also,
when you get Taylor's ass, but now we get it on the Sevan podcast. I'm going to kill Taylor. So
I wish I got
not
Taylor's
private
ass.
anymore.
but JJ's are not cold.
See, that's where you were wrong, Bill.
I know.
Now we're talking. Never mind. All right.
No,
Yeah, stop.
You got it, Jan. We've gained 4 subscribers from the shout out at the start of the show. It's greatly appreciated. Absolutely.
Yes.
love you, bro.
Absolutely.
Love you, bro.
Yeah.
Needle movers.
Yeah.
Well, I actually want to go back, and someone asked this this comment, Vicky, kind of like with the professionalism of the sport. And I know you guys talk a lot about the games and the methodology need each other, but do you actually feel that that's more of a detriment, or it makes things very muddy because there is this expectation of sport, and especially for the young athletes, they get into CrossFit because they love it. It's cool. It's new. They get into an affiliate. You drink the Kool-Aid. It's all these type of things. But then so many young athletes are going 0 to 100 to get into this sport. So do you actually feel like keeping the sport and methodology together in the same conversation is doing good for teens, or do you think it's a detriment to teens?
Man, that's a crazy question, because I get into this one with Sevan all the time. I think that there is a distinct line in the intent of each one of those training, of what you're training for.
Mm-hmm.
However, who are the fans of the CrossFit Games? The people that do CrossFit. So you can't have them completely split apart. There, I've always said this ever, since I guess probably since like 2018, when that was, I think, our highlight, our peak of sport and everything. And Greg kind of ripped the wires out on that one. Why can't you have under one umbrella sport and then methodology? Because the methodology, we do all of the things. We all do the open. We were all technically on the same starting line as all of the great competitors that are out there. We all got to do the same qualifier. So we feel like we all bled on the same place with the greats of the greatest of the greats. That's what makes us such great fans, and that's what gives that element of ownership. Because I think we're the only sport that really does that. Like I can watch football, but like I'm not connected to it. I didn't play it. My dad wasn't on the team. I didn't try out for it. So there's really no connection other than I'm just a pure fan that likes to watch from the television. That's it. But all the CrossFitters, we've done it all. So I think it's important to have that. But I think that what needs to be done, and this is something that I think HQ really needs to do, and I don't know if it'll happen, but the understanding of which one of these things are which. An elite level CrossFitter is not doing that to better his life or her life. They are doing it to win. And there is a drastic difference between the two. And I don't think it's a bad thing or a wrong thing to say that. We are still finding the fittest, because the fittest is who is at the end of this competition. That's what you're training for, that one thing. How you eat, how you sleep, how you train, what you do, whether you decide to use a knife or not to use a knife because you don't want to cut a finger accidentally or whatever. It's all based on one time frame, one little segment of time. Whereas all of the other CrossFitters are doing this so that they can do this for the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. That's a big distinction. And I don't think it's a bad thing to say, but I think it needs to be said because it's not said enough. I don't think.
If you want to grow the sport, you have to grow the base of CrossFit. Mm-hmm. You have to grow the number of people that do CrossFit, the number of affiliates that there are in the world, and the number of people that go into them. That is the only way you're going to grow the sport, because people who don't do CrossFit don't watch CrossFit.
Nope.
So if you want to grow the sport, you can't grow sport first and then make more CrossFit, because the sport is the magnification of what CrossFit can do if you are like maniacally obsessed with doing this physical activity. It's a display of, physical feats and fitness on a level that most people don't understand, which is why it's hard to just watch CrossFit if you don't do that or if you don't work out. So for an example I like, I like to use is, I never watched weightlifting in the Olympics. It was very boring to me. I could not understand or relate to the numbers on the screen or what those people are doing. I never, ever watched it or cared to until I started doing CrossFit. I was like, oh, I know how absurd that weight is at the weight that person is doing it, right? It's different than watching is like a 400-pound man snatch 500 pounds. Like, that's insane. But watching a 135-pound man clean and jerk triple body weight. Mm-hmm. And I would have never got into those things had I not done CrossFit itself or a training program that made me aware of that. And it's a niche. The CrossFit Games is a very niche sport, and I say sport loosely, right? In a market of health and fitness that is the baseline of its audience draw. So if you want to grow the sport, you need to have a bigger CrossFit community base to watch that sport and to support that sport financially, whether it's financially through the Open, which funds the game season, and it has always done that, or it's through eyeballs and views and people who want to show up in person to watch this. That is the only path to grow the sport. It's like Bill, I'm going to get nerdy. I'm going to go aerobic, right? Aerobic, long, slow distance, right? Long periods of time. That type of training will blunt your anaerobic abilities. But the opposite is, if you do anaerobic training, it can actually help your aerobic capacity, right? And so I think and this is the point we made when we had the professionalization of CrossFit, is it doesn't need to do that, or the CrossFit Games, is that we swung so hard to try to professionalize the sport and grow the sport and lost sight. And this is where Greg was right. Lost sight of what the whole thing was. CrossFit Games were on the dusty hills of Aromas, California.
Setting scene.
It was the Woodstock of fitness, as Greg and Dave wanted to be when it first started. It's a celebration of what is possible if you were to just pour yourself into this. It wasn't why we did the thing. Right? It was a celebration of. And that same thing, that red thread, was through the 2014 to 2016. And then it got really, really, really professional. 2018, we had 7 Monday Night Football trucks at the CrossFit Games and 4 broadcast teams and all these divisions. And we were just like kicking ass and spending money. Mm-hmm. Right? And then when Greg pulled the plug in 2019, right, then it was like this scramble to keep the sport professional, even though we were changing it. And the real true way is like both of these things work, because people sign up for the Open, not because they're going to, like, people don't sign up for the Open to make the CrossFit Games. They don't.
Not regular people.
No.
Yeah.
There might be 5,000 people that sign up for the Open to make the CrossFit Games. Mm-hmm. And
that's a 4,000 I would have picked.
4,000. Right. And I'll say 4,500 of them are totally delusional.
Yeah.
Okay, good cover. I like that. Yeah. What?
You might sign up for it, but
I used to sign up to make the CrossFit Games, and there was no shot. But in my head, I was like, I can still do it. No, I have no chance. No chance. So what is the other 99.9% of us sign up for the Open for? It's not about the CrossFit Games, but it is the CrossFit Games season that is a big fun opportunity draw to compete with each other, for each other, against each other. That's fun. That's part of it. That's like part of the draw. So it should separate. No, it won't, right? Because if you separate it, we'll care less about it. Mm-hmm.
So there should be no
sport helps everything, but it's not the sport that does it. It's the base.
So there should be no question, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg?
No, gosh.
This is
The
zero.
affiliates came first. The methodology came first.
Methodology came first.
If you
Yeah.
want to
The
grow,
games is an extended whiteboard. That's all it is.
cord extremity.
Right.
I need to go get my.
I see
register-
people debate this all the time.
If anybody says otherwise, they're wrong. They should be in the same ecosystem because they do support each other.
But they should be talked about in the truth of what it is. Is that the
Yes.
methodology?
Yes,
I
is
believe
because
that,
everybody
yeah.
confuses CrossFit for the CrossFit Games, and
Yeah,
then people think that's what it is. But then I'll get people's like, I'm sick of trying to talk about it and the difference between the two. I was like, that's your job.
Right. I love the talk. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
At least they're coming up to you and asking about it.
Because you hear so many stories about people that have seen the CrossFit Games, and then there's that intimidation of walking in the front door. And that's where that question comes in. Like, are we supposed to separate the two? Because can everyday people that just want to come in and be healthy get the image of what the CrossFit Games is doing out of their mind enough to be able to walk in the front door?
We have those commercials of what CrossFit really is during the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
Right? If you make a deal with ESPN, you'd be like, guess what? Along with this deal, we should be able to run 4 or 5 minute long commercials on your station of what CrossFit really is. This is totally separate. Right? But if you want to try to break these professional, like the WFP.
Yeah, do this. I wanted to pull this up anyway. Vicky, what's up, chick? If CF Games went away, do you think WFP?
No.
I don't either.
Not at all.
I don't think so either.
Who's going to watch it's the same thing I just said about the CrossFit Games. Who's watching?
I think it's more separate. I think it's more separated.
Yeah.
Now there's really no fans that are going to watch that.
Well, there's also at these professional leagues that is only for them. The CrossFit Games season starts with the entire world in the open. These other things, that is not their focus or care. They legitimately only want to talk about the professional athletes, which is great. Please take it and run with it. I'm in full support of these.
Chase is like, please take it off.
I am. I really am. Please do. Please do. So that the CrossFit Games can still find the fittest person on earth and give everybody in the world an opportunity to put their name in the hat and go from the open to semifinals of the CrossFit Games, and we'll find who the fittest man and woman on the planet is. We've been doing it since 2007, and we'll continue to do it until the games disappear forever. But no one else in the world can claim that because we've proven it year in, year out. And if you don't think you're right, then put your superstar in the open and prove it. Until you do that, I don't care what you say. And nobody's saying it the other way, which I think is great too. Professionalize the athletes, give them the money to be the whatever it is they've wanted to be since they wanted to grow up, and then just let the games be the games, the ultimate test of fitness.
You want to know what a version of what you're talking about, Garrett, as far as what came first, chicken or the egg, or growing from the top down is High Rocks. Okay, so everyone looks at High Rocks right now. Oh, High Rocks is going to be the next CrossFit. High Rocks is this big race, and I got all these people that are doing High Rocks, and now they're trying to come up with High Rocks gyms. They're trying to post High Rocks workouts. So they are going from this is a model of where instead of going from training methodology to, hey, let's just compete and see what we can do and go up the other way. This one started with a specific race and then went backwards the other way, trying to gain a community behind it. Because I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of people that do High Rocks, and most of those people are the ones that got bored of like the Spartan races and those types of things. I don't think that it's sucking people from CrossFit and moving them over to here. It's just something else. It's another race to do, another run to do. But it's not like when they post their videos up on that they get this massive viewership and all this money coming in from all these people that are watching, from the community in the world that are trying to see who does the High Rocks in whatever version. I mean, maybe they'll watch Hunter, okay, because he's stupid fast, but everybody else, no one's going to watch anything. No one watches any of that stuff. So you can't go from the top and go down like that. UFC did the same thing. UFC is this awesome competition, this awesome fighting competition. And then you try to make a regular gym out of that. It doesn't work that way. Or at least every time that anyone's done that, it's failed miserably. So I think that the WFP and those things, I just don't know who's going to watch those. It's not going to be the same number of people that are watching the CrossFit games or even like the open announcements. It's not going to be that. It's going to be something totally, maybe to see the first one like Grid League was. Everyone watched the very first grid, and then after that, nobody watched it. And it'll be the same.
I watched, I remember that, and I was like, oh.
This is dumb.
Teresa, I think it's boring to watch people run around in a circle. Valid point.
A little bit.
Yeah, look, hey.
No bad on what Hard Rocks is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Calm down,
I
Jan.
will.
High Rocks is, we like High Rocks.
We know
We're
you
talking
love High
all-
Rocks.
Yeah, we got it. Calm down.
How many times have we said that High Rocks needs to be an event at the CrossFit Games, Chase?
I know, it's
Like, bring it.
would be
Okay,
amazing.
cool. Done.
Event
But the thing
woman.
is all that is a race.
Right.
It's
just
no
a race.
different than like a marathon.
Yeah.
So you
It's the
call
same
it
distance
an old
every
shirt?
single
It's a
time.
workout.
Our old shirts were like, our warm up is your workout. Right?
Yeah.
Like your whole world is our workout.
Yeah.
I'm not mad
With all
at
due respect.
it. With all, yeah, just say that.
Hey,
before
listen,
anything.
y'all were the ones that came and like talk shit to us first. We're the greatest fitness racers on earth. Like, no, you're
Oh,
not.
he's talking to High Rocksers. I thought he was talking to us. I was
No,
like,
we're
I'm
not.
not talking shit about
Like,
anything.
we're over here minding our business like we're the ultimate fitness race. I'm like, no, you're not.
Oh, okay.
So then, as
I was about to say,
true-
you're about to get your voice back tomorrow, Chase. You're about to get your voice back tomorrow. You say all the shit you want to say, baby.
Listen, I've been trying to keep this in, but I like sitting here talking to women on a podcast.
Yeah, it's too early. You got 12 hours to go, bro. You got to wait 12 hours.
as lovers of the sport and true believers in the roots of CrossFit, the methodology and everything like that, answer if you want to. Do you hate hearing athletes not promoting the methodology, not being behind the methodology, and just saying that the CrossFit Games is a job?
Me personally, no.
No.
And the reason I say it, here's why. I don't think it's their job to promote the methodology of CrossFit. Like NFL players aren't promoting the health benefits of playing weekend football and pickup games and stuff like that. They're there to do a job. Like, it's their job. Fine, it's your job.
Mhm.
It's HQ's job to express what CrossFit really is and the difference. And honestly, I don't think a lot, especially like the younger athletes, I don't think they know the difference because they haven't been doing it as a fitness program. They've been training to race only.
Mhm.
It's different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't put it on them. That isn't their job. Like, that's on affiliate owners. That's on, members. That's on level 1 trainers. That's like on the community, but especially it's on HQ to be that promotion. I think the only times where I kind of head tilt is when they try to, or they complain about it. And then they have no understanding of,
I
right?
get what you're
Like,
saying.
so this is something I'm hyper aware for myself, is like, I realize without CrossFit, the only people that would know my name would probably just share my last name.
Garrett and I were talking about this
We were talking
exact
about
thing
today.
at lunch today.
Like,
Yep.
without me walking into a CrossFit gym in 2008, like, I would not be here right now. And it was like, who's the dude in the green shirt?
Mhm.
Right? And so if anybody outside of my family knows who I am in any part of the world, call it 4 people. It is only because of CrossFit. So I am hyper aware of that. And at no point in time do I have this concept that CrossFit's lucky that I walked into a gym.
Yeah.
Right? Or like anybody owes me anything for what, like, I haven't done anything. I've been given opportunities that I've tried to make the most of with that. And because of those opportunities, like my entire life has been transformed because of that. And from fitness to training to now working for CrossFit, like, or broadcasting, or anything, like, none of that would have been possible without CrossFit. And I carry that with me in everything I do, everything I say, every opinion I take, and how I view myself is like, Bill, do you always think it's funny when people are like, hey, can I take a picture? I'm so sorry to bother you. I was like, it is insane that you have asked me to take a picture of you. Like, what a waste
love
of your
Zumba
time and
tennis.
energy.
Shush.
Yeah. So
Good.
that's where I see it. And sometimes, and this is just the nature of things, is you'll see people that believe that this exists for them, right? Or that like CrossFit owes anybody anything, and they don't. It's the other way around.
I think that's because we're a little older. We've been in from the beginning of a lot of that stuff. So that's why I said, like, a lot of the younger athletes, they don't have that. They don't have that viewpoint. So it's hard for them to articulate that way. I think it's really, really tough. What's really interesting is back when Rich was the champ and he used to have to talk about CrossFit, even though he had Mayhem, even though he was doing all the stuff he was doing, and Mayhem was even great back then. The way he would talk about it was all over. He wasn't very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
He is much better at describing what it is now and how it is now. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that he's a lot more in touch since he's come off the competition floor, especially much more in touch with what his affiliate is really doing. He was able to set up a great business plan and have people running Mayhem and doing a great thing for that. But like, really seeing and getting what it was, that now when he talks about it, it's genuine, because I see him talking about the people that are in there, talking about the great stories about the people that are in there. And he does it in a way that is very pro CrossFit. It's awesome. It doesn't sound like he's trying to say the right words or whatever. Like, I mean, there have been other ones that try and they just are all over the place.
He just talks from experience and talks from his community. It's not so scripted anymore.
No, and I think that, I mean, and that's, with age comes wisdom, right? And I think that's one of the things that he has now in this space, is that, which I think is awesome.
Vicky would like to know, should CrossFit get rid of the prize money and make it about the title and reinvest the money back into pushing affiliates and methodology?
No. Prize money, I mean, it's still like, give people something to compete for, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm totally fine with that.
I think that if you're looking at it's
a good question.
It is a great question, because that's the same type of thing of like, okay, well then look at the Olympics. What do the Olympics do? Technically, you don't get money for doing the Olympics. I mean, now that they have sponsorships and stuff like that, but it used to be that you didn't. Yeah. So the Olympics were just these psychotic individual athletes that, lived on nothing so that they could just train and compete for that one shot because of that. Yeah. I really like the purity of that. I do. I love the idea of that, but I want these athletes to, raise the stakes on them. That's okay. I'm not against having money for them. No. I don't sit there and think that like every single person that wants to put professional CrossFit athlete next to their name needs to get some sort of like a monthly check for that. Like they aren't a franchise. They aren't contracted by anybody. They're doing this because they want to compete and they want to have it. And it's a nice prize to have at the end. So, I mean,
is making the games a bigger spectacle more for the athletes or the fans watching the games?
Well, as speaking as an athlete, I mean, we've been athletes for long. It's like, I want that. I don't give a shit who's watching. I just want to win. I like to win.
I, as a fan, like the extravagance that comes with that in-person games experience. And when that gets whittled down, like, some of my excitement and fanfare also goes with it. I don't think of it as like, oh, this has to be like grandiose, like for the athletes. Like, no, it should be like awesome for the experience. Like if you go to the Super Bowl and they're like, we're not going to hold at an NFL stadium anymore. You're like, oh,
you're right. I think that makes the show is for the fans. I don't think the show is for the athletes.
No, it's entertainment.
Right.
Entertainment.
Yeah, we want them,
make it entertaining.
But for the athlete, I mean, if you think about it, for the athletes, I mean, in all reality, as an athlete,
Mhm.
and I'm not a good fan. I've never been a good fan.
No, you have not.
But that's okay. And that's okay. That's all right. But I think like if you look at when they had the games at Aromas, nobody was watching. I mean, nobody was there. They were just competing. Actually, it was really crazy to watch them do like the lifting events and stuff like that. And the only people that were there were your judges, and your judges were all of a sudden really loud.
Mm.
You'd hear the counting because there wasn't the fans of everyone yelling. It was
Yeah.
like, man, this is really creepy. This is really creepy. But I think I like the show for what it is. Like, you know, the show of the Olympics, the show of the Super Bowl, the show of the CrossFit Games for the spectacle of it. But like I think as far as an athlete goes, they could care less. I don't
Do you
think they need
the
to have all that.
athletes enjoyed the 2020 Olympic Games? Or the 2020?
Enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there
I
were
didn't
5 of them
enjoy
that
it.
got to go.
Oh, the Olympic Games or the CrossFit Games?
I think like when nobody, like when
Was
there
there.
was no one that could attend.
There was 5 men and 5 women.
Oh, I didn't.
No. I don't mean. I meant
You're talking about the Olympics,
the
right?
Olympics.
Oh, the
right?
Olympics.
The
The Olympics.
extravagance that is the Olympics is also because of the spectacle that is the Olympics. And if you were to take away from that, aside from France, whew, all right, if you take away from that, it takes away from what is so fun and exciting about the Olympics. And I think if you take away from the spectacle and the entertainment and the grandiose nature of what the games is, I believe that diminishes for everybody. And I believe it more so for the fans because, Bill, like you said, as an athlete, it's like, listen, I don't need fireworks at halftime.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, what are the events? How am I going to perform? Whatever else happens. But it's like, that's when I go back to the base. And it's
Shit,
like,
for the Olympics, I didn't even need the opening ceremonies. They could have scrapped that. I'd have been
Yes, they
fine.
could have.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, let me just, I'm going to let you guys go because my kid is going to start asking me for 85 million snacks. And then he's going to want to say hi and tell you about the football game you're watching right now,
Yeah,
Chase, because he
stats.
will tell me the stats of the football
Oh.
game. that you're-
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm going to let you go. There's just one other question that I really wanted to ask you guys just to come full circle on this, like this perfect storm that is happening in the teenager athlete division. What do you guys think about them having agents and agents being able to contact them pretty much whenever they want? They just want to slide in the DMs if they want to go around parents and talk to them. You know what I mean? Dallin was very clear that with his Coop, I think is his agent, him and his parents and Coop have always, it's been a
Open dialogue.
Oh yeah. But there are some athletes where it wasn't, and the agent just slid in the DMs and was talking to the teenager without the parents.
Yeah. I look at it like anything else is like like an age, like 18.
18.
Right? Like any minor. Like you should not be, as an adult, you should not be talking to a minor about anything
Without the parent.
Without the parent. Right? Like all communications, I would say like don't even have the kid on those communicate. Like you are talking to the parents will talk to the child. Like that's the line of communication. You shouldn't be CC'd or in a text group with like you shouldn't be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is a part of being a child in a professional sport of any like, and this isn't just CrossFit, like of anything. And I don't know what it is in other sports, but like my parents had to sign all these things for me to just like go to college and play sports and medical clearance and like allowing trainers to like work on me kind of a deal. Like I couldn't sign anything of my own until I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So
if there was a parent that was okay with some, I think that would be a gross mistake from a parent. I mean, like just not saying that you're being completely negligent, but the thing is that like you are opening up a channel of communication that now you don't have any sort of control, and your child should be under your control until they're not your child anymore, like until they're an adult. And I agree. 18. I mean, every everything. You go to sign anything for a kid to do anything. Are they under 18? Well, then I need to have the parent sign.
Yeah.
Because that's who you're talking to. So I agree. I think that should be a no-brainer.
No, it's
No.
not okay. Nope.
Especially if you spell gimme like that.
Jeez.
And edging, wait, hold on. Let me get outside the box. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Edging, teenager has a choice to do the right thing and say, Dad, guess what? No, under 18, he's got no choice.
You have no rights.
Nope.
Until you are 18.
Rent a car. You can't vote. You can't do shit. Like,
You can't buy cigarettes. You can't join the military. No.
You can't rent a car till like you're 25,
Yeah.
right?
Right,
Like not even 18.
You're still.
When I found that out, I was like,
insurance.
what?
not even 18. You can't rent anything until.
And
like
if you're an agent that has no other way to try to find out what this kid's name is other than messaging them personally, then you're not a very good agent.
Yeah.
Like I can't count on you to go and find my kid any kind of good deals. If the only way you can find me out of all the stuff online, that's the only way you can find me is that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like if I found out my kid was talking to an agent on his, I literally would be like, you have no shot at ever representing my kid ever again because you talked to my kid without me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
deuces.
Yeah.
Like forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool guys. This was really awesome. Thank you guys for doing this on a football Sunday. I appreciate it. Please tell your wives thank you so much, and your kids thank you so much.
Yes.
This was very, very, very cool.
Thanks for having us.
Well, you guys know it. You guys got us whenever you need us.
Yeah.
You know that.
Been too long. Yeah.
Well,
no, that's my annual quota to go on a female
podcast. We have to
You
up
gotta
your
check the
quota.
box
Wait, are
already?
you like?
till next year.
I was gonna say 2025 is
Shut
all
up.
done. All right, guys. Till next time. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Deuces.